Picture this. Two men. Both turned 65 in the very same month. They worked the same job at the same company for over 30 years apiece. Same handshake on the way out. Same gold watch. Same cake in the break room. And the same exact nest egg walking out that door. $1 million each. Same funds. Same plan. Same average return over the next 20 years. 6% a year on average. Steady as she goes. Identical for both of them. Now here's where it stops making sense. One of these men dies with over $900,000 still in the bank. The other one? He runs bone dry by 87. His last years lived on nothing but that one monthly Social Security check. Same money in, same average return. One's just fine. One's flat broke. If that sounds impossible to you, good. It means you're paying attention. Because there's one thing almost nobody explains before you walk out that door. And it's the reason folks who did everything right still end up in real trouble. It ain't about how much you saved. Both these men saved plenty. It ain't about picking the right funds. They owned the exact same ones. I'm Earl, and I've spent 30 years watching exactly how this plays out. So do me one favor before we dig in. Tap that subscribe button. I put out one of these every couple days, and this one right here could save your retirement. All right, let me show you the invisible thing that split these two men clean in half. What you're looking at has a name. It's called Sequence of Returns Risk. Fancy term, simple idea. And Wall Street don't exactly hand you a pamphlet on it. Here's the plain English version, the way I'd tell my own brother. It ain't just about how much your money grows on average over the years. It's about when the good years and the bad years actually show up. Now, while you're still working, adding money every paycheck, the order barely matters. Market dips, you just buy more shares on sale. It all evens out in the end. But retirement flips that whole thing upside down. And most folks never get told. The day you retire, you stop putting money in. You start taking money out. And the second you're pulling money out, the order suddenly becomes everything. Picture a bad year hits, the market drops 15%, but you still gotta pull your 50 grand out that year, just to pay the bills. So you're selling shares at the bottom. And here's the cruel part. Those exact shares, they can never bounce back for you. Gone for good. The market recovers a year later, but it recovers without your shares in it. Now flip it. Same bad year, but it lands 10 years later instead. By then, your accounts had years to grow first. That same drop barely leaves a mark. Same size crash, wildly different damage. All cause of timing. Two retirees can earn the exact same average return over 20 years and end up in completely different worlds, just from the order those returns arrived. One line coasts along comfortable. The other runs clean out of money before the end. I know that sounds like a lot of theory. So let me stop talking numbers and introduce you to two fellas who actually lived it. Frank and Walter. Their story is the clearest way I know to make this whole thing finally click. Frank and Walter worked side by side for 30 years at Miller Manufacturing. They retired the very same month, the very same year. Same $1 million 401k. Same plan to pull 50 grand a year. Identical. On paper, these two men should retire into the exact same life. But the market had two very different welcome gifts waiting for them. Frank retired straight into a gut punch. Year one, the market drops 15%. Year two, it drops another 10. 2 brutal years, back to back, right out of the gate. His millions down around 700 grand before he's even unpacked retirement. And remember, he's still got to pull his 50 grand out. Bills don't stop for a crash. So he's selling shares at rock bottom just to keep the lights on. Every dollar he pulls out down there never comes back for the recovery. His account's digging a hole it can't climb out of. And he don't even know it yet. Now Walter. Walter walks out the same door into a totally different market. His first few years out, strong ones, The market hands him gain after gain. By year 8, Walter's million has quietly climbed past 1.3. That early growth built him a big, thick cushion. Remember that word, cushion. Then, late in Walter's retirement, his crash finally shows up. Same exact drops Frank got. 15%, then 10. Identical hits. But they land in year 12, after a decade of growth already padded his account. So the same crash that gutted Frank barely gives Walter a scratch. Same average return, same savings, same withdrawal. Only the order changed. And that one difference splits their whole retirement clean in two. By year 22, Frank's account hits 0. Empty. Nothing left. 87 years old, and he's back to living on one Social Security check. The man did everything he was told, and he still outlived his money. Walter, same age, is flipping burgers with over 900 grand still in the bank. Still pulling his 50 grand a year. Still got plenty left to spare. He's even paying for his grandkids' college. Same plan as Frank, just better timing. Now here's the part that really eats at me. Frank didn't make a single mistake. Not one. He didn't overspend. He didn't blow it on some hot stock tip. He didn't even panic and sell in the crash. He held on, just like they tell you to. His only mistake was the year he happened to retire. That's the whole thing. And not one soul ever warned him that timing alone could do this much damage. That ain't bad decision-making, folks. That's bad information. And closing that information gap is the whole reason I make these videos. So stick with me, because I'm going to hand you 3 moves that beat this trap. Any one of them, and Frank's whole story ends different. But before the fixes, you gotta understand why those first years hit so dang hard. So why do the early years carry so much more weight than the later ones? Researchers got a name for this danger window. They call it the retirement red zone. It runs from about 5 years before you retire to about 10 years after. That stretch right there is where a bad market does the most permanent damage. And the reason's simple. That's when your account is the biggest it'll ever be. A big drop on a big balance is a big dollar loss. Way bigger than the same drop early. And you're starting to pull money out right at that fragile, top-heavy moment. Now, here's a number that ought to stop you cold. Morningstar studied real retirement plans that actually ran completely out of money. Nearly 7 out of every 10 of those failures had one thing in common. The big hit came in the first 5 years of retirement. Not later. The first 5. Not year 15. Not year 25. The 5 years right after you walk out. So this ain't some rare fluke. It's the single most common way retirements break. Quick favor. Tap that like button if this is starting to click for you. It tells the algorithm to show this to more folks who really need to hear it. All right, let me make the math dead simple, so you feel it right in your gut. Say your first year retired, the market drops 25%. Your million's now $750. Now that same 50 grand withdrawal ain't 5% anymore. It's almost 7. You're taking a bigger bite out of a smaller pie at the worst possible moment. And every dollar you pull down there is a dollar that misses the whole recovery. It's compounding, but backwards. The hole digs itself deeper every single year. Now, this is the part where most videos leave you scared and offer nothing. Not here. Because there are 3 real moves that take the timing luck right off the table. 3 moves. None of them need a finance degree. Any one of you can do these. Let's start with the one that does the most heavy lifting. Move number 1, the bucket strategy. This one's my personal favorite. Instead of one big pile risking it all, you split your money into 3 buckets. And each bucket's got exactly one job. Just one. Simple as that. Bucket 1 is straight cash. 2 to 3 years of living expenses sitting safe. Bucket 2 is bonds and safe stuff, covering roughly years 4 through 10. Bucket 3 is your stocks, growth money, left alone to compound for the long haul. Now here's the magic. Watch what happens the day a crash hits. When stocks crash, you do not sell them. You don't touch Bucket 3 at all. You just live off your cash bucket and let those stocks take their sweet time recovering. That's the whole trick. You're never forced to sell at the bottom like Frank was. Frank had one big pile, so every crash forced his hand. Buckets would have saved him. In the good years, you quietly refill bucket one from your gains. Rinse and repeat. That cash cushion is what lets you sleep through a crash instead of panic selling into it. One simple structure, and sequence risk loses most of its teeth. That's move one. Move number two, flexible withdrawals. This one's about knowing when to ease off. Most folks think they gotta pull the exact same dollar amount every single year. And in a bad year, that's one of the most dangerous habits you can have. Instead, when the market's down, you just tighten up a little. Nothing drastic. Trim your withdrawal 5 or 10%. Push the big cruise back 1 year. That's it. Skip the new truck this year. Wait on the kitchen remodel. Small stuff. Big payoff. That little pullback lets your account breathe instead of bleeding out at the bottom. Then when the market recovers, you go right back to your full spending. No harm done. A few flexible years early on can add a whole decade of life to your money. A decade. The rigid retiree drains the account. The flexible one just rolls with the punches. Bend a little in the storm and you don't snap. That's move number two. And it costs you nothing but a little patience in the rough years. Move number three. You fix your mix before you retire, not after the crash hits. In the 5 years before you quit, you gradually shift some money onto safer ground. So if a crash hits the day you walk out, you ain't 100% exposed to it. Advisors call it a glide path. You ease off the gas as the finish line gets close. You're not trying to strike it rich anymore. You're trying to protect what you built. And here's a quiet one most folks never even consider. If you've got any wiggle room on your retirement date at all, use it. Even pushing retirement back 12 months can flip which side of this story you land on. Give a bad market 1 year to pass, and you might dodge the whole red zone. Waiting 1 year on a crash is a whole lot cheaper than running out at 87. So there's your three. Bucket strategy, flexible spending, and a safer glide in. Do those three, and you take the timing luck clean out of the equation. Now, maybe you're thinking, Earl, I'm already retired. Is it too late for me? Not even close. You can build a cash bucket today. You can get flexible today. The very first thing to check is simple. How many years of cash you got on hand? If it's only a year or less, that right there is your homework. Build that cushion up. And whatever you do in a down year, don't panic sell, and don't chase big risks to catch up. Panic selling is the one move that turns a temporary dip into a permanent loss. The retirees who make it aren't the boldest. They're the ones with a plan for the bad years. Boring, steady, and prepared beats brilliant and exposed every single time. So remember Frank and Walter. Same money, same return. Two completely different endings. The only thing that split them was something neither one controlled, timing. But you can control how ready you are when your timing shows up. That's the good news. Build your buckets. Stay flexible. Ease off before the finish line. If you're within 5 years of retiring, go look at your buckets this week. Don't wait. Don't let one random market year decide whether you're Frank or you're Walter. If this opened your eyes even a little, go on and hit that like button. It truly helps. And tap subscribe. I've got more of these coming every couple days. Now, tell me down in the comments. Right now, are you more like Frank or more like Walter? Whatever your answer, you've still got time to change the ending. I'll see you in the next one.